In this day and age, you probably know the feeling of realizing your kids have watched something scary or inappropriate without your knowledge. This is why I don't let my kids browse YouTube freely without me there. However, I let them pick up any movie they want from our local library every few days after school. I'm from rural Wisconsin, where only the local library is small, and it has a pretty pathetic collection of almost entirely kids' movies, so I feel relatively safe that they won't find anything there that's violent or scary. On Friday, my daughter picked a Dora the Explorer movie. When I got home and opened it up, I was surprised there was no colorful print on the DVD. It was a plain black color. I was concerned that it was a different DVD in the wrong case, so I stayed while my daughter pressed play on our DVD player to make sure it was Dora. The theme song started, and Dora and Diego were shown running around, so I left to cook dinner. All weekend, my daughter kept telling my son that she was looking forward to seeing him trip and making a clawing motion with her hands that resembled a Venus flytrap. My son started to cry and seemed hungry, but I was preoccupied trying to figure out what she was talking about. I asked her why she would say that, and she said she saw it on Dora. I asked what she saw, and she said, the metal mouth on the ground. My son cried louder and louder until I thought his vocal cords would snap, so I let it go and made him some food. The next Friday, we went back to the library, and I said they could pick a movie to watch as a family. My son picked Finding Nemo, and we returned to Dora. The old lady at the desk struggled with the scanner and went to the closet behind her to use a backup scanner. While she was gone, my daughter kept making the hand motion, and my son was really mad. When I opened the Finding Nemo DVD, I noticed again that it was blank. This time, it was the plain tan beige color unprinted CDs. It was Finding Nemo, but it was quite different than I remember. I guess some of the themes went over my head when I was a kid. Marlin seemed to have a lot of resentment towards Nemo for being the only one who survived. He seemed borderline abusive in some scenes with his anger. As well as that, the little girl from the dentist's office seemed much more sinister. There were scenes of her actively trying to harm, electrocute, suffocate, and torture the fish. The voices also sounded slightly off, but that could just be my memory. Am I crazy for thinking something is off with this library? I'm scared my kids are seeing things they aren't supposed to. Later. I was honestly scared, and the feeling I was going crazy persisted, so I asked my daughter what she had seen when she watched Dora the other day. She said that, as usual, the fox character named Swiper had stolen Dora's key, and she had set out one of those metal mouths to hold the fox still. I asked what she meant by metal mouth, and she said, "You know, like in the backyard, I realized that because we have a few pets like rabbits and chickens that live outside, we have an area along the fence lined with fox traps." My daughter told me that the Swiper had gotten stuck in the metal mouth and was bleeding from the teeth. She said, Dora didn't mean to hurt him. She wanted to get him back for all the swiping he'd done. I went back to the library to pick up the Dora DVD and watch it myself. While at the library, I checked the Dora and Nemo DVDs, and neither of them were blank. They were normal fucking DVDs with colorful prints of the characters on them. I went through all the fucking DVDs, and they were all normal. I grabbed Dora, Nemo, and some other Barbie one they had watched ages ago, and went to borrow them. The lady at the desk took them, and then bent down to grab stickers to put on them that said the date they were due. She took the DVDs down with her and spent a suspicious amount of time looking for stickers. When I got to my car, I opened them, and they were all blank. They were all blank white DVDs, even though when I checked at the library, they were completely normal. One by one, I put them in my laptop and skimmed through them. The Finding Nemo one seemed the same as when we had watched it. The Dora one showed Swiper dying in a fox trap, and the Barbie one showed Barbie as jealous and violent. In one scene, she poisons another competing ballerina Barbie, and they show her choking, sputtering, and throwing up. I went back in the library and asked the front desk lady if she could go look at the kids section. I gave her the excuse that there was a book in the ground that had been thrown up on. When she left, I went through the desk below, where I found the actual DVDs of the movies I had just bought. I decided to go into the storage closet behind her desk. It was filled with boxes. I opened a box, and it was stacked to the brim with blank DVDs. For as long as I can remember, my parents had one strict rule: don't look out the window at night. When I was younger, I didn't think much of it. It was just another strange thing my parents said, like not eating dessert before dinner or always wearing socks to bed. But as I grew older, the rule began to feel suffocating. I was 15 now, and no one else my age had bizarre restrictions like this. I'd asked them about it once, and the answer was always the same. It's for your own good. That explanation wasn't enough anymore. One night, curiosity got the better of me. The moonlight spilled through the cracks in the curtains, bathing my room in a silvery glow. I couldn't sleep. My parents were in their room, and the house was silent except for the occasional groan of the floorboards. I tiptoed to the window. My heart pounded as I reached for the edge of the curtain. I hesitated, my parents' warnings echoing in my head. But I was too curious to stop. I pulled the curtain aside and peered into the darkness. At first, I saw nothing unusual. Just our backyard, the familiar silhouette of the old oak tree, and the faint outline of the woods beyond. The street lamp at the edge of our property flickered weakly. I felt a wave of relief. But then, something moved. A figure stepped out from behind the oak tree. It was tall and impossibly thin, its limbs too long, its movements unnaturally jerky. My breath caught in my throat as I realized it wasn't walking. It was gliding, almost hovering above the ground. Its head turned sharply toward me, and even in the dim light, I could see its face, or lack of one. Where its eyes, nose, and mouth should have been, there was only smooth, pale skin. It raised one spindly arm and pointed directly at me. Panic surged through me. I yanked the curtain shut and stumbled back, my heart hammering so hard it hurt. A soft tapping sound came from the window. I froze. Tap, tap, tap. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The tapping stopped, but I didn't dare look. Suddenly, I heard my parents' bedroom door fly open. Footsteps thundered down the hall, and my door burst open. My dad stood there, his face pale, his eyes wide with terror. "You looked, didn't you?" he whispered. I nodded, unable to speak. Before I could ask what I'd seen, the tapping started again, louder this time. My mom appeared behind my dad, clutching something wrapped in cloth. She handed it to him, and he unwrapped it to reveal a long silver blade. "Stay here, don't make a sound," my dad ordered. "What is it?" I finally managed to choke out. My mom grabbed my shoulders, her grip trembling. "You've invited it in," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The room grew colder, the lights flickered, and then the window shattered. What followed was chaos. My dad lunged toward the thing that climbed through the broken glass, and my mom dragged me into the hallway. I could hear the creature's inhuman shriek, and my dad shouting something I couldn't understand. We ran down the stairs and out the front door. My mom didn't stop until we were halfway down the street, her breath coming in ragged gasps. "What is it?" I asked again, tears streaming down my face. She looked at me, her expression a mix of fear and sorrow. "It's the reason we told you not to look. Once you see it, it knows you're there, and it doesn't stop until it gets in." A blood-curdling scream erupted from the house. My dad's scream, and then silence. The next morning, the house was empty. My dad was gone. The window was whole again as if nothing had ever happened. But every night since I've heard the tapping, I don't know where to start. Frankly, I don't want to start at all, but I have no one else to turn to besides an anonymous board on Reddit, filled to the brim with people looking to get their next fear fix. Well, this is perfect for you, because I'm fucking terrified. My wife, Christina, and I met around 9 years ago. We had the whole cliche of falling in love almost instantly and getting married only after 2 months of meeting. At least I thought we did, but that's for another time. About a year into our marriage, we decided to have kids. We had a girl, Mila, and then a boy, Addis, 1 year later. I loved them more than anything else in the world. I would spend every available second I could with them. Hell, sometimes I'd even call off work and lie to them saying school was canceled just to be with them. At least, that's what I remember doing. I got up and began my usual routine. I rolled over to find Christina's side of the bed empty, which was weird. She always slept in later than me. I got up and walked into the kitchen and started brewing a cup of coffee. I looked at the clock on the microwave and saw it was 7:55 a.m. Crap, I thought. Judging by the fact that the kids weren't even up yet, I figured they were going to be late for school. I rushed over to their room to get them up and dressed. I put on my goofy dad grin and began opening the door. "All right, you lazy bums I stopped, completely shocked at what I discovered. The kids weren't in their beds, but that wasn't the weird part. There were no beds. There was nothing in the room that belonged to the kids. I dropped my mug and splattered black coffee all over the wooden floor. That's right. The wooden floor? The kids always had carpet. They've had it for years. Now all there was wooden. A pool table sat in the center of the room, the corresponding pool cues in a rack resting on the wall. An old arcade machine sat in the corner of the room. There were pictures of bands, a few paintings, and a calendar featuring some blonde woman with her legs spread across the roof of a Camaro scattered across the walls. I was at a loss for words. I didn't know what to do. Then I remembered that I had some family photos hanging up in my living room. I shuffled my way over there and gazed just above the TV, where the pictures were hanging. I only found a huge plasma TV, an Xbox One, and a Star Wars poster occupying the space of printed family memories. I was freaking out at this point. Tears began to well up in my eyes. I had to call Christina. I opened my phone, pounded in my passcode, and punched in her phone number. My heart sank. The phone number wasn't registered. I desperately clicked on my contacts to find her. She wasn't there. I scrolled through my pictures, videos, and even Facebook. All I could find were pictures and videos of my college buddies and me at bars and the occasional strip club. Nothing of my wife and kids. I don't know what to do, guys. I don't want to tell anyone. They'll think I'm crazy. I am freaking out. I know that they exist. I'm not a lunatic. I need all the help I can get, and I would accept advice from anyone now. Please, help me.